I'm an Ikure man from Rivers State, Mr. Speaker. My dear colleagues, I want to remind us that there is nobody in this hall that is not a Democrat. This institution is the citadel of democracy anywhere in the world. This arm of government is the arm of government that should very jealously, with everything that we have, protect democracy. The motion this morning before us is a motion that is talking about an abuse, an attempt, an action in this country that appears to undermine democracy. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, the last time I looked at our laws, sections 40, 41 of the Constitution guarantees freedom of association and freedom of movement. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, the last time I also read our Electoral Act. The Electoral Act states that campaigns can continue 24 hours before the time of election. My dear colleagues, what we saw yesterday, it's not only shameful, but it attracts pity for the system that we run. The same system that gave birth to all of us. You can imagine what the international community will be, the kind of sight and scenario it will create. We leave the shores of this country, we meet with our colleagues outside this country. Is that the kind of election that gave birth to us? I think that we should condemn that completely and in toto. We cannot conjecture, we cannot make excuses. We cannot tell the story, we can only hear the story from the actors. The governor of Ekiti State on television told us his side of the story. The police who was in charge of, in fact, the AIG in charge of operations, who led the team, also told us his side of the story. And the story is so clear that the governor of the state led a group of party men and women without the approval of the commissioner of police in the state, and that the way things were in Ekiti, that they cannot allow any rally or gathering without the permission of the commissioner of police, that they had to forestall any breakdown of law and order. What kind of excuse is that? Is that permissible under our laws? The police is given powers to protect life and property of Nigerians, including those in Ekiti State, but that should be done in line with the laws of the land. We saw them walking very peacefully, laughing and joking on the street to a particular venue. In fact, on screen, you can see the stadium, the venue where they were to gather. There were no other party there other than the police people who came opposite direction, shooting canisters and thereafter gunshots. It is indeed a sorry sight and state. We're talking about security issues. Look at democracy. That is not an external issue. We are now part of the problems for ourselves. Police is supposed to protect them. Even where you go on protest, it is the duty of the police to protect you. And there is no law in this country, I state so, also as a lawyer, not just as a parliamentarian, that says that we need to get permit from anybody for any gathering. There is no law. The courts have entered judgments on these issues. The case of police against ANPP is clear that you don't need police permit. So I begin to wonder why a very senior police officer, who indeed is qualified to be the IG of this country, as it stands today, will be on television telling us that you require permit from the police for you to gather. Not just an ordinary citizen like myself, the #1 citizen of the state was part of that movement. And we want to stand here and defend that action. Let us remember that history will judge all of us as we stand on the floor of these chambers to defend and take position on issues. Let us also remember that we speak for the people of Nigeria, not for ourselves. Let us also be reminded that our duty here is to protect the laws that we have made and not to put the law standing on its head. My dear colleagues, this is not a motion that we should be emotional over. It is not one that we should look at political party. It is not one that we should look at tribe or religion. It is one that is very straightforward because we are disciples in the temple of democracy. And I think the least we can do is to worship it and worship it in truth, in faith, with all our strength, with all our might, and with everything that we have. Mr. Speaker, I support this motion in its totality, and I will urge all of us to take positions that will protect not just our democracy, but our country, Nigeria, in the Committee of Nations. And any assault on democracy, no doubt, will continue to ridicule our country. Let me also say, finally, that the scene that I saw yesterday only reminds me of Somalia and South Africa of yesteryears. But that kind of thing can happen in our country, Nigeria, today, with the chief security officer present, policemen throwing canisters freely, using live bullets freely on armless civilians. The least we can do is to condemn it and urge the police, and indeed all of us that are in charge of the police force, to ensure that that kind of action does not repeat itself, and indeed apologize to the entire public for what happened yesterday in Ekiti State. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity, and I urge us to support this motion. Thank you, sir.